Alright guys, welcome back to Actually Anything. It's the podcast that's actually about anything. And today I have my two guests, Niko and Chloe.
Hi.
How you doing?
And today I have them on for a very specific reason, because we all share something very common, and that's that we all have epilepsy. It's what's the best way to describe it? It's basically in your brain. It's basically just
A seizure disorder.
Yeah, seizure disorder.
Yeah.
And it could come about in many different ways. So, Chloe and I, we were most likely born with it. But then Niko...
My story's a little bit different. So, I wasn't born with it, and I never had seizures up until a point where I was serving in the military, and I was injured. A mortar shell blew up part of a Humvee,
Same, man.
and I had a traumatic brain injury, but at that same time I also lost almost all of my hearing, up to 85% my right ear, and I believe it was 87 or 90 in my left ear, and there was a period of time for like 2 months straight where I didn't hear anything, and then because I wanted to be eligible for this program they had, but you had to like have some natural healing of your hearing in order for you to just be eligible for the program.
Right.
Otherwise it would be like a waste. So 2 months go by, and all of a sudden, like the one day, like I wake up and like I could kind of hear rain hitting the window, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm making progress. So I immediately got to called the doctor. We immediately did a series of 2 hearing tests. My hearing had improved. Basically it's right around 70% overall. And from there on I got into this program where I had an army cocktail of medications injected directly into my eardrum for 8 months. The first 3 months it was twice a month. After that it was once a month. But that brought me to just about all my hearing back. I have like a 15% hearing loss in my right ear and a 21% hearing loss in my left ear, but other than that...
Was it just like ringing in the very beginning? You couldn't hear
so
anything?
loud that I couldn't sleep for that's when the insomnia happened, because the ringing was so loud because of the damage to the tissue. That's what actually causes the ringing, is damage to your ear tissue. And because the damage was so severe, the ringing was that similar to the bomb itself going off. Like, it was that intense.
So you probably had some PTSD from that, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty traumatic.
Yeah, it was, but I have to say, like, I didn't deal with that for many, many, many years later. I didn't think I had it, but through growing up and life experiences and just knowing yourself more, I definitely realized that, like, because that caused me to not be able to serve on the front lines anymore and be an infantry soldier. So, like, I had, like, resentment towards that and stuff. But bringing it back to the epilepsy, I suffer from a different type of epilepsy than
us.
Yeah, than you guys. Mine, it's basically because there's certain scar tissue, and I have since developed a cyst on this one part of my brain.
It's basically like a tumor, right?
Yeah, and it would put pressure on this particular part of my brain and cause me to have seizures. And once it started, then it was just like it was like this, like the floodgates were open. I was having them very frequent for at least 6 months to a year, because I kept having to try different doctors, and certain doctors weren't taking an aggressive approach, in my opinion. And after maybe 5 doctors and at least 15 different medications, found the best combination for me to control them to a minimum. I'm sure there's a better combination out there, just because I still have them occasionally. But I'm hoping with time, because one of the things with epilepsy is sometimes people hit midlife 40, 45, 50 and stop having them.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm.
It's very strange how it
But
works.
it's also, I know that also sometimes people will be in their 50s and have their first seizures and
That's-
then develop
that's-
epilepsy.
oh, wow.
That's
Yeah.
very true.
That's
My
something
grandmother,
also.
on my father's side, had a seizure at 64 years old.
It's
for
the first one he's ever had.
First one,
That's
my grandmother.
crazy.
First one
Oh,
she's
shit.
ever had in her entire life.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, my uncle, my godfather, he had seizures in his early 30s, which I'm 32, but mine started in my mid 20s.
Okay.
Once I came back.
You know, it's a very complicated disease. I guess it's technically a disease, right?
Yeah.
It could be hereditary, but you know, before we started filming, I was talking to Chloe. It could date back to ancestors you might not even know. You
Yeah,
know?
because with me, it took my situation is completely different. I was really young. I had my first seizure at 4, I think I was
Wow.
4 years old, but they weren't sure why, and it never happened again. And I guess did tests, nothing showed up. And then when I was a teenager, I started getting really bad migraines, what felt like migraines. But with the migraines came this deja vu feeling, and it wasn't like, you know, somebody says something and you think, oh, I've heard that before. It was, if I didn't know the word deja vu, I would have to describe what deja vu is, basically. That's what it was.
Gotcha, yeah.
You felt like, and it's actually a seizure in itself. Now, these were the beginning seizures that I had that turned into my auras. So, didn't know that my older sister was going through the same exact thing. Both of us couldn't really quite explain it, and I was a little afraid too, because I was on anxiety medication at the time, and this is something you don't want to tell a psychiatrist
Right.
who has no idea a thing about epilepsy,
Right.
that feel like you're in a dream having a deja vu, and then you blank out and throw up and forget everything that happened, and you're dripping in sweat. So as I got older, you know, they were treating me with different like migraine medications. They did different type of what are they, EEGs. They did EEGs to trigger seizures with sounds and lights, and nothing induced it. I kept a track for years. I kept a notebook, and I just wrote down the dates, and it would be every 1 to 3 days I would have those deja vus, which are actually auras. And later in life, though, the deja vus eventually became a warning sign for a grand mal seizure, or they call it tonic-clonic seizures now.
That's like one of the worst
So-
ones you could get, the grand
Yeah.
mal, right?
Yeah, so the last one I had, I actually almost died.
Wow.
So that's why I wear a bracelet now with it says epilepsy and my mom and my neuro's number.
Oh, that's sweet, though.
What happened was the very last one I had, I'll just use for an example. I was in the kitchen getting ready to leave to go I think it was to school or work, one of them. And I had just made a smoothie, and I was washing the blender, and I grabbed my head and said, oh no, because I knew when I was going to have deja vus, but I knew it was going to be one of them, and I said, oh no. And then next thing I know, I wake up, the fire department's in the house looking at me.
Wow.
I'm confused. My mother's looking at me. My father came home from work. I wasn't breathing for over 20 minutes. I had no idea what happened because I hit my head really bad, and I guess because I stopped breathing for so long. So I wasn't sure what happened, and they kept telling me what happened, and 2 minutes later I would say, what happened? And then they just stopped even telling me on the way to the hospital. And then finally, I just sat back and said, oh my gosh, I know what happened. I had one of the deja vus before
Yeah.
the seizures. And they said, yes. And I said, the medicine I was on was Keppra. That wasn't working. So I said, can you please start me on Lamictal? Because I know it's like, you know, a safe medication to take. It's nothing like weight gain, weight loss
Right.
involved with it. The only danger is that Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which I never had. That's like a big not a common thing, well, kind of common. It's a black box warning.
Right,
It's
right,
like a
right.
rash that can kill you. Like you blow up.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, you have to go to the ER. Like you blow up. They tell you like call your doctor if you see any rash when you start the medicine. So I started Lamictal, and then I had what was called status epilepticus that night into the next day. So I was just having seizures back to back to back to back to back. And I never had a grand mal seizure ever again. But
Right.
I still go to a research neurologist now, and she went more into depth because they were way interested in me and my sister having the exact same type of epilepsy. That my sister's also turned into the same thing, lost driving privileges for a while. And they did genetic testing and found a mutated gene that's associated with epilepsy in both of us. So it's like really rare. So I mean,
amazing.
all I could think of is some kind of common, like an ancestor we share that had this gene, this mutated gene. We must have been passed on to us. So I'm doing great though. I get my ambulatory EEGs. My last one showed that there was no epileptic activity. The one before that showed I had epileptiform spike waves still happening. It was in the C3 electrode region, so it was in my left temporal lobe. That's where I have temporal lobe epilepsy, even though I wasn't having seizures. So my neuro did tell me, she said there's times when you could still have the seizure waves in your head and the spike waves, and sometimes you won't. But even though it doesn't show up on the report, you still have epilepsy, because I asked, does this mean I don't have epilepsy anymore? If it comes back clear, but it's not curable, it's just treatable. That's all.
Unfortunately. We started noticing it with me when I was maybe in the second grade, because my teacher was like, Sean, he's always falling asleep in class. Is he not getting enough sleep or something? And I think it must have had to do with my epilepsy, because even now I don't really always get enough sleep if I have one, right? And it depends. That's why I take at least 6 pills a day, and I've switched the medication so many times. There's ones that could cause you to be you could have like mood swings. I was taking
Keppra could do that.
I think it was Keppra, because I was
and they want to push
I was
hard.
so angry sometimes.
I don't know why, but I believe it's just because they come from such big pharmaceutical companies that the doctors want to push these type of drugs very hard, especially in the beginning. I don't know why. I don't know if it's them not trusting the fact of what you're saying or the data that's in front of them, but I found, especially going to multiple different doctors, that they want to push these drugs first. And that could really, those type of drugs, they will forever, change the wiring of your brain and the way your brain connects different things.
We're trying to fix the wiring, not change it. Yeah.
Right. We're good on something else changing it. We were talking about tonic-clonic seizures. I think a lot of people out there think that when, say you're in public and you see someone, a lot of people, this is like a big myth, a lot of people will want to go over and like hold them down
or CPR. CPR is a no-no for epilepsy.
Or put something in their mouth so they don't choke.
You don't do CPR.
You don't do any of that. That is 100% false.
That's literally why I have it saying epilepsy, so that they know don't put Narcan in me and do CPR. None of that.
Yeah, because they gotta assume it's like a drug overdose.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And
I gotta get one of those bracelets.
Yeah, Amazon. You can customize the front and back.
It says your name on it, you said?
No, it has. I didn't put my name, but I did put my mom.
Oh, right.
I put mom and number, so I mean,
that's smart.
She'll know it's one of her epileptic daughters.
I've never had one during like the day. Like mine is more nocturnal when I'm sleeping. So I take it every night and morning, because there's times where it's happened in the morning too. But like as soon as I wake up, it's very it's interesting. You know what's funny?
It almost seems like it's like a part of your circadian rhythm or something. Like once your mind starts to settle down, like getting ready to go to sleep, something else happens where there's like a whole region that just sparks up, in your
Yeah,
brain
for sure.
that causes that to happen. That's kind of curious to me that it's like really specifically what you said, like almost 100% at night.
Yeah,
And
basically.
that's how they noticed it though as a kid. Like it's nice that
Right.
that your teacher was able to notice something and you were sleeping better. Like those are the good teachers that actually pay attention. Something's wrong, you know. Even though they're not a doctor, they're not a neurologist. They just knew something wasn't right.
Right, exactly.
And it could be an underlying condition.
And it's important. That's why like she was such a good teacher. But it's important for because when we're kids, I think we could be pretty silent about that stuff and
Even
just not realize.
I was too afraid to tell
Yeah,
people that I was
exactly.
having deja vu.
Right, and
Yeah,
I
we need to break
yeah.
that stigma for sure.
I could
Yeah.
I could never explain it to people, even till today. Unless you have it, it's very difficult. I just say it's like a panic attack, but you don't have much memory of it. It's
Yeah,
very
that's kind of what it's
And
like.
it's so
and
annoying.
It could
It's-
range, like, it could be a lot more severe than that too.
right.
Especially like some of like the ones I've experienced, because I have.
There's times where you've just collapsed
I
mid
like-
conversation.
Yes,
Yes,
that's-
like
how I was.
100. I can be
Wow.
standing
Yeah.
still, and this has happened
But I would
several
tell
times.
people.
All of a
I don't
sudden,
know.
it's
collapse.
it's
Right,
game
right.
over,
It's
and I could fall
scary.
flat on my face.
my
I've
God,
broken
man.
my nose. I fell on the corner of my coffee table, busted up my
Oh
eye.
my god.
My chin, I have a scar
My
here.
sister got
Not
hemorrhage in her
so.
head.
Yeah?
Yeah.
My point is like that the
There's all types
people
of
are
different
going.
seizures.
Yeah,
Right.
people
There's not
are
just
going.
falling on the floor
Yeah,
and collapsing.
there's such
it's
a wide
so many different
range.
things. And
A
you could
wide
be having
range.
seizures and not know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know until
Right.
you have a report telling
Right.
you you're having this.
Yeah.
And you could say, oh, maybe that's why I'm having headaches. Maybe that's why I'm not sleeping right. Maybe.
When I was a
You don't
baby, my doctor, because I would wake up many times as a baby, just all the time, waking up crying, and it would happen like a lot. And my doctor at the time was like, "Oh, it could just be night terrors, maybe bad dreams, whatever." But now we've come to the conclusion it had to have been my epilepsy.
Being at a young
So
age.
it probably
Yeah.
dates back to literally like when I was
When you're
just born, you know?
born,
Of course it
Yeah.
does.
If you're born
it has to
with
be.
it.
I
you're-
mean, it's basically like it's even lower. It used to be 1 in 26. Now it's 1 in 20 people will experience a seizure or epilepsy at some time in their lives.
Well,
So,
the seizure
87
without that could also fall into the category of drug addict.
Right.
Yeah,
seizures
yeah.
Or drug
But-
induced
You think
seizures.
Think about this though.
I think the
87 people a
statistics should
day
be
are diagnosed with
Definitely.
epilepsy.
What would you say?
Yeah.
87 people a day are
I'm so
diagnosed
happy.
with
So
epilepsy.
yeah.
We were just trying to figure out statistics before. Like,
Oh, we
remember?
were.
Yes.
See, he knows it all.
Good.
Yeah, well, I was like, gonna look at everything up on my phone, but we have
Yeah.
the.
I just
we
really
have the man right
want,
here.
like, for whoever is watching this, like, if you ever have a friend who talks about deja vu or something, let them know to go to a neurologist because
sure.
that's not something people talk about when
Right.
you talk about epilepsy,
Right.
and it is a humongous sign of a seizure disorder and something that can turn into so much worse. Because from
Or
what used to be a
auras.
deja vu to me like this, like an aura, a focal
Right,
seizure,
right.
it's called, and I would have to cover my eyes. I told my doctor, who's
Light
a research
sensitivity.
doctor at NYU, I said when I had just the deja vu or focal seizures, it felt like demons were leaving my body because it felt like I was
That's not
having a dream.
You're not the first person
Do you
who
know
said
what
that to
she
me.
told me? She told me that she said that in the ancient times they thought that people who had seizures were being possessed. She said, so what you sounds is
God.
pretty accurate, about how you
Wow.
would feel. And I was like, thank you for like validating that because
Wow.
as a child having anxiety disorder going to psychiatrists, I couldn't tell them these things. They would have
Right.
said, oh, schizophrenia or
Right.
hallucinations, when
Right.
really this was something I knew wasn't, it was different. I knew there was something wrong with me, and it wasn't until an older teenager that I was able to get help from neurologists.
Do you guys see? You guys go to NYU in the city. They do such a. That's why I'm glad to be in Manhattan, New York. They do an amazing job. They got an NYU. I don't think they have one in Staten Island for some stupid reason, but
I don't even mind. I
well,
go
yeah, it's worth the travel. But
worth it.
ever since I'm thankful for the doctors I've been seeing about my epilepsy since I was a kid. But NYU is just
They do
incredible
a
what they
step
do.
above,
Yeah, it really is. And
Every one of those doctors do research.
Yeah,
and
shout out to Dr. Buffer. That's who I see right now, and he's a really good guy. And
And these guys are on like the cutting edge stuff. Like they're publishing.
Exactly. I read.
Absolutely.
When the pandemic hit, they made a lot of new publishments too.
Wow.
On like medications with COVID and COVID on this, effects of that. I mean, it gave them more reasons to do research.
What do you guys think about and how do you feel about marijuana and its effects positively and negatively?
It has no effect on me whatsoever.
With epilepsy.
Yeah, I like to think that it helps. There's times where I've tried, hey, let me just smoke at night right before I go to bed and then not take any medication. And it like varies. I feel like there's times where I did it, but then there's times where I did.
Medication,
yeah,
I know.
You need to like
with it, right?
Yeah, you need to like be super routine with your medication.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
almost
Same
like if you
time,
have a
every single
cold
day.
and you take either a medicine or an allergy medicine. Like, well, take this or that. Like you gotta pick which one you want to stay with to see which one is actually effective.
Yeah, you definitely don't skip days.
Yeah, you're right. Because I've noticed there's times where maybe I forgot it and like. It would just happen. It's
my medication is too expensive to skip. I don't skip it. Pay that. I had to.
It's not covered by insurance?
Oh, it is.
All right,
but
good,
my insurance pays 80% of medication. Now, ready? I'm taking Lamictal extended release. Generic version is about $1,000 without insurance for a generic. So I pay. It's about $120. Something like that in the 120s, whatever. I don't know. I pick them up at once.
What are people supposed to do if
cancer patients go
or
through
you
the
can't
same
get insurance? You know, like what?
Well, then they would have to go on Medicaid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then that stuff is covered.
Right.
In New York, I know that for sure.
Yeah. That's a shame though.
Because I used to volunteer at New York Cares, helping people get like set up. Like homeless people get set up back into the real world, like get them ID, get them all that kind of stuff.
I should get more involved with that because I would love to help more people.
You could do an episode, like a traveling episode.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because like the people you meet and the experiences, the stories they tell, it's unbelievable, one of a kind, like grade A, not only fun and entertaining, but like grade A content.
Absolutely, yeah. And think about how many people just in New York alone have what we have, maybe even worse than the three of us combined.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course.
And that's basically the whole point of this episode today. The three of us just want to make an awareness about epilepsy because I feel like there's a lot of people that don't know about it still, or even know what it's like.
Everyone just thinks epilepsy is you have a seizure or you're on drugs and you have seizures. Like it's just this. What to them epilepsy is you fall on the floor and convulse. It's much more than that.
Or maybe they'll assume that it's your fault that you have it. Because like, could drugs possibly cause you to have seizures?
Yes, a lot. That's
right.
why
so maybe they'll think like, oh, you're a drug addict. That's why
paramedics. Because if you're alone and no one tells them you have epilepsy, they'll give you like Narcan. It's never happened to me because I was never alone. Like, all my friends know I have seizures. So, if I always told them, see if I wake up after 5 minutes because I'd rather not go to the hospital.
Yeah, and they're going to be there all day.
In that case, they notify my doctor because my doctor's on file, and then I lose driving privileges.
$1,100 for an ambulance.
Yeah, that too. Cost me $150 for me. I'd rather not. But I also just wouldn't want my doctor knowing because I just don't want to lose that driving privilege to the DMV itself.
Especially people
on my
our
own
age,
terms, I wouldn't drive for the sake of everyone else's safety, but also they do. If they know it's an epileptic seizure, they'll get you right up. They'll give you, like oxygen and stuff in the ambulance. They'll take you. If you wake up, then you wake up. They'll give you like my rescue medication is Ativan, but there's one other rescue med. Yeah, I have. Yeah, so I have have a script of that if I ever feel auras coming, like focal seizures. They're just named auras. Like if I feel focal seizures coming on, take an Ativan, and that's what they're there for. And there's another rescue med that I know that a lot of paramedics use, but I forget the name, and only because I had a friend who was a paramedic and he told me that, and I was like, dude, if I ever have a seizure, don't give me that
I'm not
one.
sure what it is.
I don't know
just
that.
because mine has always been Ativan.
Yeah, mine was,
Gotcha,
and yeah, in the hospital they would inject the Ativan if I was in the ER with it, because they have all my stuff on file at the hospital, so kind of good, but
besides you two, I compared to like my other friends, I don't know a lot of people that have this as well. That's why I specifically like wanted to get you two.
A lot of people will have it and just not tell people they have it.
Right,
It's very common, especially like on my father's side of the family. They're like a lot of proud Russian and Italian people, and if there's illness anywhere in the family, like they pretend like it's not there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like my great uncle recently died. I think of like cirrhosis of the liver, drinking and stuff. And
my grandfather died of that.
And nobody acknowledged the fact, like not when he was diagnosed, or for the next 5 years, or at the funeral. Like it was like. Really? It was like, oh, well, he lived a long, healthy life.
Well, I know that alcoholism can cause seizures.
Yeah.
Withdrawing from alcohol and...
withdrawing from alcohol is like the most dangerous withdrawal there is.
They actually use seizure medication to help them. They give them Klonopin, because Klonopin's an anti-epileptic also, so they give that to...
I have a prescription for
Klonopin. A lot of people have been prescribed Klonopin for seizures. So like sometimes you'll hear stories about people like overdosing on like Xanax and stuff, and having seizures, withdrawal seizures. Those medications are actually used to help seizures. So that's why people who are like abusing these types of drugs they're going to end up having seizures. And then it's like, what do I do? Do I get prescribed the medicine? Or, they end up in, like, detox and stuff like that. You're basically giving yourself epilepsy.
Right around to what we were saying about, like, you take one of these types of medication and it completely alters the way your mind is wired.
Yeah.
So you take a medication like that, especially at high milligram and high dosage, where these like people that are abusing them who don't have a history of seizures, all of a sudden they stop taking them and boom,
they're seizures.
Because that drug is absent now.
Yep.
And
it produces GABA in the brain. That's how my doctor explained it to me. It gives you GABA. So if you take a high amount of it and you don't have epilepsy and you want to take, recreational Xanax, Klonopin, any of those, Ativan, even like we just said, Ativan and Klonopin used for seizures. If you take those, you're giving yourself a bunch of GABA in your brain, and then once it depletes, you're going to have seizures. So the point of those medications, people with epilepsy, is to produce GABA, so you don't have the seizures.
Bunch of gabagool up there.
Okay, gabagool. Drink to that.
So, guys, just recently... Oh no, not your weed.
Happens to the best.
It does.
Did it start recording?
Yeah, it did. That's mad funny, though. So,
okay, and we're back.
Yeah, and welcome back. We got some weed on the floor. It's for the fallen homies. That's what we said. When we used to drop like weed on the floor, we'd be like, oh, well, for our fallen friends and heroes.
Yeah.
From the earth back to the earth.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Basically, I think that was why he said it. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about just recently. I went to Manhattan with my mom. Oh, God bless her, by the way, because she, we had my dad in the hospital, and she's helping me with all this, too. There's a lot going on. I feel like she's she gets very stressed. There's a lot to put on her right now. But anyway, we saw a doctor. He's a surgeon, and he was giving me some options about what we could potentially do. It would involve 2 surgeries. So the first one, they would put some electrodes in there, and that's to be able to tell like exactly like where they would have to do the second surgery, something like that. But they've figured out that it's mainly coming from my frontal lobe over here, and potentially they would maybe just take something out. and that's it.
The lobotomy kind of thing?
Yeah, like something like that. And it might just be something they have to remove, but I don't know. Not exactly sure, but in the second surgery, I think there also could have been something else in there, like this big.
VNS?
I think so.
Only like with my experience of having that, like benign tumor removed, but that was. It seems like that's a little bit different than what you're speaking on.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah, I think a VNS I think is a device that they put into you, but I think they put it in your chest, I believe. I don't think they put it in the.
So maybe it's something. It's got to be something.
But
else,
I know that there are surgeries they'll do to remove part of the brain where the epilepsy is, where it won't affect your other part of the brain.
Right. And I'll be honest with you guys. I was avoiding this for so long. Like I really was making this a last resort. It's scary, the thought of, them going in there like that. But the way he kind of reassured me, he's trying to say, look, you shouldn't be scared. There's a 1% chance I could maybe get a stroke, but that's 1% out of 100, and plus maybe even higher than 100, right? He's done this specific doctor. I think his name is Doyle. He's done over like 6,000 surgeries. They were all successful for the most part. No one's ever had something bad come out of them, And he was trying to tell me the risk of not doing it could be worse of just. Yeah, because he said over time my memory could start going, or I could develop more problems. And at that point, I kind of feel like I don't have a choice. Like I think I might as well
go for it.
Just go for it. What do I got to lose at this point?
I say go for it.
Yeah.
If the doctor says that the risks don't outweigh the benefits, like the benefits outweigh the risks, then go for it. Do it.
I think I should. And you guys have. I know you've had a few surgeries, and I'd say you're doing pretty.
I'm
least better.
Doing way better post than before.
Exactly.
Like the number and frequency of the seizures have gone down dramatically, and I would say even to a certain degree, the severity, because like before it was always like grand mal clonic-tonic.
Wow.
Like I would have like full partial complex and focal seizures here and there, but the majority of them were like balls to the wall, hardcore seizures where my body was physically getting beaten up. We're talking broken bones, fractured ribs, all kinds of injuries. 3 concussions.
Yeah?
3 concussions.
God, dude. And you said prior to the war you never had any of this, right? So it's 100% caused because of that accident, that attack. That's so fucked. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I was like depressed about it for a while.
Yeah.
But it's just my reality, and now, like it's a long road to get, and sometimes it's hard to navigate, but to get to where you're at a point where you get the right combination of medication and you get a great doctor, one that understands you and your specific needs and wants and goals. That takes time.
It does.
It took me a while. It took me years, and once I finally, once you know almost immediately, especially like within the first couple of weeks, especially after a medication change or adjustment or anything, all of a sudden you start feeling better, you're sleeping better, like those are the first things you start to notice, and then you're like a month in and you're like, whoa, I haven't had a seizure at all.
Yeah.
So like it comes on.
Do you ever get the like, oh, I'm due for one, like
all the time?
Yeah,
that's my anxiety now. Like,
I feel that way too.
That's my 100. Like one of the sources.
That's why I kept track for years, a list to keep note of how often it was
My mom
happening.
does the same thing. She has a book and she writes it down.
Yeah, I have a dream/seizure journal, because sometimes like
your dreams. Do your dreams? Do you have dreams before seizures? Because
a lot of times,
my signs are
That's partially the reason I have it combined.
It's
Oh, wow.
it's really weird. Like certain songs cannot just trigger a
A
seizure.
song, yeah.
It's called auras. So it's things that if you've had seizures over and over, and you noticed, oh wow, the moon was full, like 8 out of 10 of those seizures, or it was raining almost every time of those seizure dates, or like I had really strange nightmares during those in those seizure times.
Yep.
So like those are my signs. Another really strange one, which my doctor just kind of is like, okay, is doors. It's when when I know I'm gonna have seizures, doors, specifically doors being open is like a big thing. Like I have to close the door. I'll notice an open door and I'm like, oh no, it's gonna happen. Like it's just a warning. Like, oh no. On a normal day, a door being open is fine, but during those times like where it's coming, because the patterns of seizures, it was like doors open, raining, full moon, like it was just, then the nightmares, I'm done.
Yeah,
It's incredible with the moon.
anxiety
That's really nice.
Yeah, I kept track of that on the dates too. Yeah.
The anxiety of like anticipating a seizure sometimes will bring a seizure on.
That's happened to me a few times.
All by itself.
Right.
So I try not. I am a big meditator, and I like if I feel something may be coming on, or if I start to get that anxiety of like I'm due, I try to immediately try to change my pattern or mode, so to speak, of thinking. And so far, I mean, it's definitely had a positive impact. I'm not saying it's the one cure-all, but it's definitely, I know for sure I have, by using that technique, I have avoided seizures. 100%, I know that.
Oh, good.
I like that. You know, I've never really meditated, but, you know, after hearing that, I should definitely
It's hard to
consider
start,
it.
but once you get to a place, you have to be, first of all, you have to be very disciplined, especially in the beginning. But once you get to a place where you'll notice it immediately, all of a sudden, like your mind transcends to a different place, and you forget where you are.
I know what you're talking about. There's a Buddhist monastery, whatever it's called, really small. It's like under the Bayonne Bridge, like that side block. Every Wednesday, they have like a meditation class. Like you can just go in, and there are monks in there.
Yeah.
And you go in, and there's they have the whole Buddha. Really, they have the Buddha there with all the flowers, and like, you know, you bring flowers, like it's just out of courtesy. They just ask people to bring flowers for the Buddha. You can go pick dandelions and put them there. But like, you sit down and they do like a reading, and then like I've fallen asleep while meditating. Like I've fallen asleep there.
That's
and
some of the best meditations. Is like once you get to a point where the best that happens a lot too in the beginning too, because once you are able to get to that transcendence, the next step is being able to control that state of mind. Like, because you might want to fall asleep because you're so at peace. But if you could control that state of mind and deal with, like, your everyday problems, they become so minuscule and mean almost nothing. When you come out of it, you feel like the weight of the world is off your shoulders. Like, I call it my, like, recharging. Like, it totally recharges me.
Yeah. I like that, man. I should definitely consider trying it out.
For beginners, I recommend, like, downloading this app. It's just a metronome. What you do is you'll sit, you get comfortable in a very quiet space, sit with your legs crossed, and sync your heart up to the tick of the metronome, and just focus on your breathing. And start there, and just gradually you need to keep doing it, especially in the beginning. I honestly recommend it like at least 5 days a week in the beginning, and then from there I would do that for like 2 weeks, and then you'll notice a difference. One day you'll come out of it and go, oh wait, this time was different. that's when you could start experimenting more about like exploring your own consciousness.
I feel like sometimes I have a problem with just like being able to like stay still, sit still for like a period of time. Like,
I used to have that problem. It's really common.
I have that problem. Yeah, I'm always on the go.
There's like,
even if I'm alone and on no destination, I'm on the go.
Yeah.
I'm just always on the go.
When you guys have your seizures, do you usually forget them or remember? Do you?
The deja vu, I completely forget every single thing, but while having it, it's almost like I was there. It's almost like whatever I've seen, I was there.
Yeah, I agree with
it's
that.
like a dream while you're awake and you're there in the dream. Everything else around you is happening, but you're there, it's gone after.
I have remembered like one or two, but most of them, it's like...
What happened? Did you ever tell anyone what it was?
Only my doctor.
Oh,
the one was like me on the edge of the earth, like being pulled into like this abyss.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That sounds
that's
a
why
little fun, actually.
No, it didn't feel fun.
Wow.
That's why like it freaked me out so much that I was like,
that's pretty spooky.
I'm definitely telling my doctor about this because that felt like.
Was that just recently?
That was about 6 months ago.
Okay. Oh, that's kind of recent though.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the other one was kind of similar to that, but like so they had the same themes, and I felt like it was like a religious thing.
Right? Yeah, that's why I said I felt like demons were leaving my body.
God.
That's how it felt to me. Like demons were there
really
trying to get out.
Religious to me. To the point where like 100%. I reached out and I talked to a priest about it.
And there you go. What did I tell you? My doctor said that back in the ancient times, they would have. She said they probably, they would have thought you were possessed by demons. And there you go. You reached out to the right people because it's more than just what's going on in the brain. Like doctors still don't know why.
Oh
it happens. There's something
they're just
else
figuring
there.
this stuff out.
Like you said, the religious part. That's what it feels like. But for me, in an anti-religious way, it felt.
I feel like hundreds of years ago, they would consider these visions or prophecies or stuff like that.
Yep. It wasn't. I haven't had those deja vus like the auras or focal seizures and stuff. They're like kind of intertwined words.
Yeah.
I haven't had those in a long time, thankfully. But when I did, it was spiritual. It was way too spiritual that you don't even remember it after. There were very few that I did remember, and it was only because I mumbled it out loud while someone was around.
Yes.
And while I mumbled up words, they told me the words when I came back. Like I threw up after. I was dripping in sweat. Always ended either dripping in sweat or on the floor having a, grand mal tonic-clonic. And when they would, the people who, it was like 2 times it happened. When they told me what I said, I remembered. And I was like, oh my gosh, this, that, I remembered that. It was just weird. It was like a dream, but being awake.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that. Like, my ex-girlfriend, she said that sometimes I would, like, mumble random sentences and words and stuff like that. And they always had a religious theme to them. And, like, I'm not even super religious. I grew up religious and stuff, and I still have my faith. But, like, she's like, I couldn't tell if you were in war or you were, preaching to a congregation or something.
Interesting.
How weird is that?
See, when I have mine, it's more like I'm trying to seek comfort. Like, one of the first things I'll do if my mom or dad try to calm me down, I'll, like, hug them. So me, it's almost like when you have, like, seizures, like, for me, it almost feels, or from, like, because I've seen videos of, like, how I act, too, or just the way my parents describe it. It's like a completely different person. It's like your brain.
Yeah.
You have no function. It's your brain taking over the body.
Yeah, it's not.
It's
you
very
anymore.
strange.
Yeah, I've had those videos too, and like when you watch
cognitive function is gone.
Yeah.
I've woken up with black and blues on my legs. There was one time I hit my head pretty hard on the dresser, and I woke up. I was bleeding. I was like freaking out.
the tongue bites. I've done
Yeah,
that.
me too.
Yeah.
My dog, who's supposed to be my best friend, he when I have one, he could tell. He like knows immediately when I have it. But instead of
register that dog.
yeah, well, the thing is though, instead of coming up to me and trying to help me, he runs out of the room and like he's like, oh god.
Yeah,
like,
but for help maybe.
well, I hope so, but I think he gets more scared.
I think that any service dog for epilepsy or anything not like blind people, but for like epilepsy, like they're not gonna run to you, they're gonna run for help.
Yeah, maybe that is what it is. He's going to my
He
mom.
might be running
He
to
usually
somebody
does go in my
else
mom's
for help.
room. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I would say
because they know they can't help you.
That's
but
true.
They can
That's
help
true.
you by
Yeah.
finding
I would
someone
say
to
that's
help you.
definitely what's going on.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a good
Register
point.
that dog.
I would like to look at it that way.
Take him
'cause,
on
you know.
planes.
I
go
would
everywhere.
look
Yeah,
at it
right?
that way. Because growing up, like, were times when, like, my dog or, like, my uncle's dog or someone, like, to get help, they would, like, they knew there was a situation, and they always ran away to get someone, and then just kept barking.
Oh, okay.
And then turning around, like, bark,
And
follow
they'll leave
me.
you back to
Run.
where you gotta go.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
what they
smart,
do.
man.
They
They're really
leave you
incredible.
back to where the danger is.
I think one of the most incredible things that dogs can do is they could smell like someone's breath, and they train them to when they smell a specific smell, they could tell if someone has cancer or not.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm ever feeling a little paranoid one day, I might come ask your dogs.
Yeah,
to smell my
for
breath.
sure.
like-
Well, they need
Let
like
me know.
they need a lot of training, but
There's
yeah.
like maybe less than 1% of people in the world that actually have that ability to
Yeah?
smell
Oh, interesting.
like dying organs. Yeah,
dude.
it's. I learned.
I
it
would
in
have
the-
preferred that genetic
Yeah,
mutation.
Yeah.
I learned it in this book.
This
One of my
nonsense.
friends is like he's a physician. He's just a general practitioner, but he gave me this book. He's like, you got to read this book, and I was like, that is amazing. There's these people, and a lot of times they're from like these communities where they don't have access to like Western medicine and stuff. But like they'll go to like this shaman doctor leader who will say like you have cancer, and then they would go get
So
tested
great.
at a hospital and they have it.
Wow.
Like that's why I'm always saying there's other
That's
things that
mind-blowing.
play.
You
here.
know what's funny?
For sure.
I've been offered so many. I mean, living in Staten Island, it's just full of drugs, and I've
Mm.
always been offered drugs my whole life, and I always said no because I didn't want to have a seizure. And there's something peyote, the cactus, and there's churches like out in New Mexico and in like South Arizona, like Tucson.
Colombia.
Yeah, like, and they do, you have to pay a fee to join their church, to become part of the Native American church,
Yeah.
and then you're allowed under their, like, you know, Native American, like, rights to drink the peyote tea.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do it, and I told my doctor, and she was like, you know, you could have a seizure. But I was like, I feel like being with these Native Americans, they'd know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's what I thought. I was
it's
like,
nothing new to
if I'm
them.
ever going to try to hallucinate, I would do it with, like, these
What
shamans.
if it could potentially, like, I don't want to say cure because I don't want to tell people, oh, no, do it. But what if it could potentially, like, be beneficial, you know?
My
You
experience
never
with
know,
hallucinations and epilepsy
My luck, I wake up in a leak.
is like
Yeah,
Or not wake up.
Yeah, right, yeah, same.
Is mushrooms, and like I have found that mushrooms always have not only a really positive impact on my personality, my self growth, where I go through like a complete analysis of everything, and I found that sometimes like I'll go through periods of time of like microdosing, and I found that throughout all of those times, and for at least 2 to 3 weeks after I would take like a larger dose, I never had a seizure once.
Wow.
And that's over the course of like almost 6 years now.
Oh, so that's a lot of like data then.
Yeah,
You
I have.
yeah.
I wish I brought my laptop because I have everything recorded.
See, I have too much fear to do any of that because of like how you said the religious part. I feel like so many like psychedelics are like religious things.
100%.
And I'm too afraid to approach that at any point because I'm afraid that could just trigger one of those deja vus to me, and I haven't had those deja vus. And when I say deja vus, they are painful. Even if you don't have like a grand mal or tonic-clonic after, like followed right after it, just having it feels like demons are coming out of you, and I would just throw up and be dripping in sweat. It was painful because it would happen back to back to back for days, usually like 2 to 3 days and every 1 to 3 months. But then eventually it turned into those happening with the tonic-clonics.
Right.
But those things, I would never want to do anything to trigger any kind of like spiritual.
You know what is a big trigger?
For me.
If you drink like alcohol excessively.
Yeah,
At least for me. That's why I was never a big drinker in general, but that's why I usually only stick to beer. But you know, it's also because when I'm going out, I'm usually the one like driving too, so I'm also like the DD. Yeah, so there's like many reasons.
Designated drunk driver.
Yeah, but
I have to say one thing when you were saying you're scared of the religious aspect of it. My experience and of the people that I have like taken them with, all report extremely positive religious experiences. Like extreme. People like talk about
I've heard a lot of things
like seeing God or talking to angels and like
that's why I wanted to go
lives.
all out and go to peyote. That's what I wanted. I wanted that
ayahuasca
peyote catch.
DMT. Like that's
right,
what I
right.
would want to do.
I would love to try those one day. Even if it was just once. And I'm not very religious, but even if just for to understand the life a little better or the universe, like because I've heard a lot of experiences like that too. Like that, I think that would be pretty incredible.
It opens your mind. Excuse me. It opens your mind to things that you have never thought before, like stuff. There's times you feel so small because you realize that just how big the entire universe is.
I think these things on a daily basis. That's why I'm like, I don't need to hallucinate.
Well, yeah,
I look at that tree right there and I'm like, wow.
That's why it's like very
we're
hard to
literally
describe.
on a rock floating through some infinite space right now, videotaping ourselves.
Yikes.
That's all we are.
Yeah.
You know,
it's scary, but also pretty
It's very
beautiful.
hard to like describe the experience to someone who hasn't done it before. People have been trying to do that for probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe longer. And
if I was in the 60s, I definitely would have tried stuff because I just love the 60s themes. But
same 70s.
For me,
too.
I'm too scared. I'm just too scared.
Yeah, no, you're
just find me running down the street
I
like naked, screaming fire or some shit. I don't know. Like
definitely start small. You don't need to be doing that kind of tripping. Oh boy.
You know, the way I see it, I don't think psychedelics are illegal in most states because of concerns for our safety and health. I think it's just because most people in control or whatever.
Anymore.
Yeah, I think now it's better, but I think it was just to keep us from expanding our minds more.
Like,
yes, I believe that's true.
I think so. Most places. What about here in New York?
Psilocybin, but there's another type of mushroom, the Amanita muscaria mushroom. It's like the red with the white circles.
Oh,
that's down in like Brazil and the Amazon.
And
like that's another type of.
Up in the Eastern European mountains is where it's like primarily found.
Oh wow!
I don't know if you've ever seen Hamilton Morris's Pharmacopoeia. It's on Vice, and he's like an actual scientist and drug like an experimentalist who travels the world, finding the most exotic drugs, doing them, and then
talking to people about their experience.
No, like having a complete scientific breakdown of everything that occurred.
Oh, cool.
It's like one of the most interesting shows I've ever seen in my life. I highly recommend it.
They have a decent amount of
they
cool,
talk about that
documentaries on
mushroom
that.
in there. They have like a full episode about it.
Wow.
Some of them, like, they're huge. They're like this big.
I feel like they grow from the earth naturally for a reason. Too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anything that grows naturally from the earth is there for a reason.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the stoned ape theory?
No.
So there's this theory, and first of all, I'm not saying I'm a believer, but I find it interesting. So there's this group of scientists that think that they try to figure out, like, their mission is to figure out how we had such a large leap in the development of our brain, and all of a sudden we start walking upright and all this stuff. They try to discover, like, why and what caused that to happen. And then there's this theory that because monkeys follow cattle in the wild, they follow them, and mushrooms grow from the cow pies, and so the monkeys would follow. There's evidence of this. They would follow to eat the mushrooms from the cow pies, and I don't know. Obviously, we don't have historical monkey.
But how did they like know that?
Through.
Who first knew to take weed and smoke it? I mean,
Well,
somebody
I don't think
it's always like one person
I
that started.
don't think it's like something like
things.
the monkey knew to do it. I think they just following them saw food. Okay, this is food.
Point.
Then they got benefits from it, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna all follow these, and then we're gonna all eat them." And it's like a really weird, interesting theory.
I wouldn't doubt it, man. I think that's pretty interesting.
And they have evidence of like mummified monkeys, then they with like mushrooms in their stomach contacts.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, there's like some truth to it.
Wow.
I don't know how much, but when I heard it, I was like, "This is BS."
You know what bothers me though? Like, you can type in any leafy green vegetable on Google and then just type nutrition, and all the nutrition percentages come up. But if you type in I used to grow my own wheat, so like I wanted to know the like plants, what percent of like calcium or whatever's in it,
Yeah.
When you type it in, you don't get nothing from Google. You only get articles. You don't get the actual data. I don't want conspiracy shit. I just want to know what is in my fucking Northern Lights plant.
Right.
If I juice the stem, what nutrients am I getting? Is there any protein? Like, I just hope that there's a day that they can actually upload to Google the what if it has like vitamin K or vitamin A.
you'd have to dig and dig and dig, but I'm sure there's like some
there has to be. It's a
articles
leafy
out
green
there
plant.
in like some cannabis
Definitely.
forums.
It's a leafy green. It has to have some kind of vitamin K or A or something. I just wish I can easily know.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of ways we could, maybe not necessarily treat, but at least help us get through epilepsy. And how long has it been studied for, though? I feel like you could say go 50 years back. Were we really that aware of like what it was and what it was about?
They're still not aware. I mean, I have a
Yeah.
genetic mutation with my sister that they don't even know what. They just know it's associated with
the brain is
epilepsy,
absolutely ridiculous. It's incredible
in
too.
its infancy stage.
Right.
We only understand a very small percentage of what actually goes on in our brain.
True. Like, think about the what it's truly capable of. We have proof just to what people have done, for this planet. But what think about the possibilities, like what we haven't done that we could do with our brains. It's
right.
The brain is very powerful, and they say we only use a certain part of it.
Right, certain percentage, right?
Yeah.
8%, and
it's got to be at least like 10% that I don't use, but my body uses, and that's the part that's in the temporal lobe.
There's some people out there that use 0% of it, and that's
Yeah.
This is. How about dolphins use?
Oh, they're incredible too.
Yeah, they use an upwards of 15 or 16%.
Do
of the
they?
brain.
Yeah.
Almost 20, I believe, actually.
Don't they get like a puffer fish or something, and they get high from it?
They're
It's like
also
licking toads to humans.
they're almost are one of the only animals that also do things for pleasure.
Right,
Yeah.
Like
right.
they have sex for pleasure. Like what you just said, they'll find like different fish that make
Yeah.
them like stoned. Like
They're so smart, man.
Yeah, and they, because like they have that extra percentage of brain usage, they learn things very quickly, and they what's the word I'm looking for? They have developed like basically like a sonic wave system to detect things all around them. Basically,
Yeah,
like
like a
a
sonar,
radar for
Right,
a fish.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
so they
that's
constantly
awesome.
know what's around them at all times, which is that's amazing.
Yeah,
They're like
yeah.
a
I
military
truly
warship.
believe that
Yeah,
we're
literally, dude.
eventually gonna evolve. Like, I know we're not touching any other subject like autism, but like the autism whole spectrum became huge, like, and it's hugely studied and really
sure.
like aware now. And I mean, like, when I think about it, I'm like, I'm on my phone instead of like saying, oh wow, I love that, I just heart it, you know, or oh, I like that, I like it, that's funny, LOL. You're not showing emotion. We're walking like this. Our eyes are supposed to be looking. I feel like eventually the eyes are gonna move up here. Eventually we're not
Yeah.
gonna be speaking that much. Like, we're gonna evolve. This is how I feel. I feel that all of this
We definitely
is
won't have good vision
gonna
anymore.
be. I think that our eyes are gonna eventually just get wider or move upwards because we walk like this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, I
we're
hear
not
it. Yeah,
we're
yeah.
not walking like that anymore. We're walking like this and bumping into things
It's a very
using
toxic
peripheral.
thing.
So where the peripheral is, the eyes, I feel like will eventually move.
For sure.
Like in 100 years, if we still have this technology, God forbid nobody nukes us, you know, or anything, whatever. If our world is still standing, I really think we won't look the same anymore. Or
Yeah, I
act the
believe
same.
that.
I don't think we will. We'll look like alien. We'll look like the way like cavemen bodies look. Like we'll be like that. Like
Yeah,
Straight up
just not
Neanderthal.
cavemen. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Neanderthalism.
Well, hopefully this brings
Yeah.
some awareness.
Yeah.
You know, I think what brought a lot of awareness to people, if they didn't know about this before, was when that Disney actor Cameron Boyce died, and he was younger than us. That's why, you know, the fact that we're still here, we could make a video like this, share our experiences. We should be thankful that we are still alive to talk about it.
Absolutely.
There's something called SUDEP too. It's sudden unexplained death in
I think
epilepsy.
that's what he had, right?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
SUDEP,
sucks,
and you
man.
can die. You can have a seizure, and you can just die
Yeah.
from it. It's called SUDEP.
It's such a shame because he seemed like a really good kid. He was very successful. Clearly, he was on the Disney Channel. He was on that show Jessie and some other things. And yeah, it's just so sad. Like he made a life for himself, and he was so young. Like God knows like how much more he could have done in his career. And the fact that it was cut short for like no reason at all.
Yeah, not his fault.
Completely, yeah, exactly. Completely undeserving, you know. But this is why like things like this are important to talk about, and we just want people to be more
Absolutely.
aware of it.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
Yeah, and
Also, I
Yeah.
just want to say, like, if anyone's watching and, like, you ever have some, like, if you ever thought, like, you had, like, these weird deja vus and you weren't sure what was going on, like, maybe it was just you or a headache, just
right.
take into consideration that as a huge sign of epilepsy.
Yeah, don't be afraid to
Yeah.
tell
And
anyone.
don't be afraid.
anything.
Don't be afraid to talk
Right.
about it. And if you are afraid to talk about it, go to a doctor at NYU.
Absolutely.
A
Yeah,
neurologist.
in New York we have like one of the best
Go to
medical
an NYU
doctors. you know.
neurologist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
just like we were saying earlier.
Oh, your family.
We, the community as a whole, are at least starting to look at it differently. Like when we were talking about some of the statistics, I mean, every single day, 187 people get diagnosed. That's a lot of people. That means that we need to start taking this a lot more seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. More
Doctors
awareness.
need to be more aggressive, and we need to have more social awareness and support for people that have to deal with this, because it's not just the
Yeah.
disease itself, but the
The
lifestyle.
symptoms, yeah.
The lifestyle that comes with it, it limits you from doing so many things that you want to do.
Yeah, like you
Uh-huh.
were saying before, you could potentially get your license taken away and
And
not be able
even
to drive.
I
So-
go through times where, like, even though I'm not having those deja vus and stuff, I'll have very bad migraines. but they're seizure-related migraines. They're not just headache migraines. And I stay in bed. I'm spooked out. The doors, the moon, the rain, it's all scaring me because I know I could have a seizure.
Yeah.
But medication makes me not have seizures. And my friends don't understand when I'm telling them I'm having, like, migraines, and they're like, oh, my head hurts too. I'm like, no, it's different. It's
way
extremely different. It's really different. Please don't, you know, put yourself in my category. Just be there for me. That's all.
Yeah.
Just be there
I'm
for
glad
me.
you brought up the migraines because they are. They shouldn't even be called migraines.
No,
they should be
I
called
call them seizure migraines. That's what I
They
say.
should be
it's
called
a
minor
completely
head
different
trauma because
level.
they are so severe. You can't
It's
move your
debilitating,
head.
yeah.
Like you can't, and then like if you move your eyes too much.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm talking.
Yeah.
Extremely painful, and sometimes they last for hours.
Yeah,
hours.
I have it usually for like, it'll be like 2 days for me.
Yeah,
when it
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I could go to bed with one, and then because I have it, I don't really sleep, and then at least half of the next day, it's going on still.
Yeah.
It's
And
like it's pause. It's a pause on your life.
And people
too.
that have to deal with that. Like you still have to do your daily thing. Like you got a job and you got to do this, and it's just that much more difficult.
For sure.
Yeah. But if anyone ever has questions, like, always feel free to reach out. Like, if you're ever afraid to talk to someone,
Absolutely.
because some of the symptoms are like so hard to explain, and like it's not unless you're talking to the right neurologist or like someone else who's experienced it that'll understand what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because none of my friends understand what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah,
at all.
Mine. Yeah, you know, I have one of my friends. I try to explain it to him, but at the end of the day, you know, like you said, they can't really. But he was trying to tell me, like, oh, hey, man, you probably don't need the medication. Just try to smoke more before you go to bed. Try to do this and that. And I'm like, if only it was that simple, man, I would. But it's really not.
Don't listen to that. Take the medicine.
Yeah,
definitely
that's why it's
not
there.
listening.
My
Yeah.
medicine saved my life. That's what I gotta say. My
For sure.
medication has saved my life. And
Yeah.
actually, the medicine I'm on is safe for women who are pregnant. Just not women who breastfeed, but when you're pregnant, you can take Lamictal. Like, it's safe. So there's no side effects other than that Steven Johnson syndrome rash. But that's
Right now,
a
I
risk
take
you take.
Riviact. That's what mine is called. Yeah. I think they're constantly making like new ones all the time too.
Yeah.
What do you take right now again?
So I take 3 different medications.
Oh,
I
three.
take two.
I think I take
Yeah.
2. Yeah, I take Viviact too. So
Like I said, I have I like relief medications.
Oh right.
And then I have clozapine.
Oh, I've heard.
And that in higher dosage has been pretty effective. And then my other medication that I started recently is I know I'm gonna butcher this. It's
alright.
trazapine.
Okay.
Temazepam.
I think it ends in an I-N-E.
Oh.
Who comes up with the names?
I don't know. I think the names have something to do
With each other.
with
like,
the
yeah.
chemical makeup. And
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Because Klonopin and Ativan are both for seizures, and they both, and like their real names, lorazepam, clonazepam.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I guess they come from a derivative.
clonazepam.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then the Ambien or not Ambien, the
Ativan
Ativan
is lorazepam.
lorazepam, yeah.
Gotcha.
Probably.
So guys, I just want to thank you for coming on again.
Absolutely, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. This was
I would love
great.
to do it again. Maybe we could.
Yeah, we can do a part 2 episode. Yeah, for sure.
Especially if you guys have questions,
some
like
more
we can
guests.
answer them
Yeah.
all for you.
Just send them in to this guy, and we could help the best we can.
And if you're a girl and you're afraid to talk, you can send them to me also. He could
Yeah.
give you my phone number or message or email, whatever you want.
I'm
same here.
In the description. Are you on Instagram or social media?
I have Instagram, but I don't really use it.
Okay.
So probably the best way.
I respect that a lot. But if anything, I'll put you can put your email down in there. I'll put your Instagram in the
my Instagram name. Yeah, sure.
I'll do my
feel free.
email and my
Absolutely.
Telegram because that's like the best way for me.
All right, great. Yeah, I like I said, I'd love to have you guys on again. We can discuss
this is
further.
awesome.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. This has been Actually Anything.
Thank you.
Peace. Enjoy the day.
Bye.
It is hot as hell. I don't know about you guys. I'm
It is.
sweating.
It got so warm. I
Jesus.
can't believe it. I'm really happy it's
Yeah,
warm,
me
though.
too. Me too.